do. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Burr, 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 burr. Do, 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 do. What's up, everybody? It's Monday. I'm hot in the mic! Well, I gotta turn the mic down. I gotta turn the mic down and stop yelling so much. There we go. What's up, everybody? How you doing, Internet? How are you today? Oh, what the... Hold on. I got a crazy fingernail thing going on here. Ka-chow! Get out of here, fingernail. There we go. Karate pow. There. Got to fix my fingernail. Oh. All right, guys. What's going on, Internet? What's happening on a Monday? Let's see. I got to get the pop-out chat going here. There we go. Now I can read it over here, so I'm not looking way over there. Oh, forgot to turn the sound down. All right, there we go. I had to turn the sound down. Otherwise, what would happen? Maybe some copyright music or something would play, and people would hear notifications in the background, and then they'd be checking their phones and then cursing the day they ever turned this live stream on. If you start hearing all the notifications, bells and whistles and stuff going on in the background, right? Right? Am I right? That happened to me earlier. I was actually listening to somebody's podcast, and they didn't turn everything off in the background, so you could hear like notification bells going on during the podcast, and I kept like, oh, I gotta go. What is that? Huh? Oh, wait, no. Wait, what? Yeah, it was driving me nuts, so I should probably take a clue and somebody else's failure and make it not my own. Speaking of failures, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the worst day I had in fish keeping history, because yesterday was a close second. And I've tried to stay upbeat, you know. I try to stay upbeat, you guys. I don't have a video segment here today because I'm not documenting, other than just coming on here to talk about what happened. That I don't know. I've made some video about it, but I don't really feel like making a video and it being the catch thumbnail and all that crazy nonsense. I don't know if honestly, I don't know if I'm going to put it out. I don't know if it's a video that I'm ever going to put out because I don't know. I might just reshoot it. I might just reshoot it in a different way and then put it out as just like a warning, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do necessarily as far as that goes. But it definitely, yesterday was a close number 2 to the worst day ever. I'll tell you guys, the worst day ever, I have to give you a little bit of a backstory, unless you've been following this channel for a really long time. The evolution of my fish keeping has changed many times over the years. And I would say about 6 years ago, I took an opportunity, maybe 7 years ago. Maybe it was 7 years ago. I took an opportunity to rent a warehouse space. And I thought, at the time, I had lofty ideals of, taking my game to the professional level. If only to find out that, in the part of the world that I live in, taking it to a professional level means, it meant then, who knows now, but it meant then basically doing maintenance on like dentist office tanks and stuff like that. And that wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do. So I didn't necessarily scrap that idea, but the idea of like doing YouTube and that kind of stuff was more I guess, maybe in the forefront of my mind or whatever, and I definitely had to kind of, think about what I was going to do. And one of the things was like, well, I have to move into a different space. So I found a warehouse space that was renting to me in a reasonable fashion. The unfortunate side of that is that the landlord got less and less happy with me being there. So some of the safeguards in which you would normally rent a space sort of just kind of went out the window necessarily. And I don't really know how to explain that in a nice way, but realistically, the thing that happened that was the worst was there was no safeguards in place for that building to have lost power. The temperature outside at the time was about 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is cold. I know it's not the coldest in the world. It's not Antarctica or anything like that, but it's about 10 degrees outside, and you think about a warehouse, right? A warehouse that's just kind of a 100-year-old crummy building. When it's 10 degrees outside, that means it's 10 degrees inside when the power is off. The power was off for like 4 days. By the time, maybe 3 days was how long it was, but 3-4 days was how long it was off. I basically came back to my whole entire fish room was frozen, basically. And that was, long story short, that was the worst day I've ever had. And I pretty much, after that, was just like, well, taking my hobby to the next level just wasn't going to happen. I moved to a different house, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, that was the worst day, and I don't really want to rehash too much of that stuff because that was really realistically a different point in my life, and I don't, like kind of just recounting it is, I don't know, just kind of, honestly, kind of just like a waste of time, realistically, because, it was just so many years ago that it just doesn't really matter. But I can recount the second worst day, which was yesterday, and I can tell you guys what happened. So Saturday, as you guys know, my plans on moving the reef I've been working on moving the reef tank. And to give you guys a bit of a backstory on the reef, is a 180-gallon aquarium. It's got a 60-gallon sump on it, but it probably only runs about 30 gallons, 35 or something like that. So I just kind of round up and just call it like a 210. The system is like 210 gallons, something like that. It's a pretty big reef tank. And as you guys know, I've been planning on moving it. So doing my regular maintenance, it just hasn't been hitting the schedule per se because I've just been priming everything to move. So I haven't been doing giant, big water changes on it and stuff like that. I've just basically, because Saturday, I was basically just going to top the water up, and then Sunday, I was pretty much going to spend all day moving all of the reef stuff. That's pretty much was the schedule. So I went to top off with a little bit of water and got seriously distracted. I basically just was like, "Oh, was that the bird? What was it? The chickens? Was it a dog? I don't know what it was, but I had essentially turned on the top off water to add like maybe 5 gallons, maybe a little bit more than that. I'd have to measure the chamber to know, but let's just call it 8 gallons just to be a weird amount. So running through the filter and everything like that, it doesn't exactly just dump 8 gallons out in like 30 seconds. So it does take about, probably 5 minutes or something like that, or a couple minutes. Let's just say it takes a couple minutes to fill up. Needless to say, I got distracted and then just completely forgot that the top off water was turned on. Yeah. So as the day poured on. You know, Victoria and I were doing all sorts of things and doing stuff and getting ready, and we had a senior ball that was a fundraiser for the senior center down south from here. Those of you that follow on Patreon will know I posted a picture of it up on there. It was great to go out and help with the fundraiser for the seniors and stuff. But just the part of the story that has to do with that is that, I got ready for the senior ball, and then I was grabbing a snack before I left, and I realized, like, why do I hear water? Like, I could hear the water running, like the building water is running. Like, I couldn't hear water running anywhere, but I could hear that the building's water was turned on, and I was like, is Vicky taking a shower or something like that? Like, what is going on? Like, that's weird. Why would the water be on? And that's when I realized that the freshwater top-off had been a-flowing for probably 3 hours. Probably my estimation of time is 3 hours would be my guess. So the 210 gallons of Reef were fresh water. Yeah, it had just cycled and poured out the back. The building is fine because I did some of the concrete work and stuff so that it actually pushes water right out of the building. It's not that big of a deal. So the building is fine. Not that big of a deal. The building is fine. But the Reef, needless to say, was just 100% fresh water. I don't know if anybody here knows much about reef chemistry, that kind of stuff. But, when your reef has gone 100% fresh water, none of the inhabitants are happy. From the bacteria up to the corals, all the way up to the fish, nobody is happy at all. I'm going to check in with the chat here real quick and see what's going on. Trevor Crawford says you got to put it out there, Joel. Just got to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. My response to that is that I'm happy to come talk about bad situations and stuff like that, but I'm really reticent to make a video about the disasters. You know what I mean? I don't think that it plays. I don't think that it plays well. I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. It does play well on the internet. You will get a lot of views from it, but I don't think that, just posting like pictures of dead fish and disasters and stuff like that is anything that benefits anybody necessarily. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm just opposed to that. I guess like maybe if I accidentally, I guess if I shot a video of like a car crash or something like that, like that's super easy for that to go viral and then a bunch of people watch it. But I don't think like it benefits anything. Like, does anybody watch a car crash video and then go like, boy, I really got to pay attention to how I'm driving next time? I don't think that it does. So, that's honestly the way that I feel about it. Like, I think if I posted it up, it's probably a video that gets 10,000 views or something. But I don't think it helps anything. I don't think it necessarily helps anything. It's one thing to show like mistakes or like I screwed something up and here's how I fixed it. This is really one of those situations where, how do you fix it? You have to tear the tank down and set up another tank and do all that stuff. So I think if I upload the video, it'll be just about the reef and how I got from A to B. So I think that's what it'll be, and then I'm sure it'll probably only get like 1,000 views or something like that. But I feel like it would be much more helpful to the 1,000 people that watch it instead of the people that just want to watch a train wreck. Does that make sense? I don't know. I hope that makes sense, but that's just like how I feel about it, that I I'm more encouraged by, the 130 people that are here right now, that are more interested in learning and being part of the community and helping other people and stuff like that. I think a lot of people know that have followed me for a long time know that I know how to like blow things up and do explosions and all that. I know how to do a lot of that stuff, but you notice that it just doesn't show up in my videos because that's just not. I don't feel like that's the thing. I don't feel like that's the thing that I want to do. And I just, if it's a representation of myself and like what I want to do myself, then that's kind of why I'm here. That's kind of why I'm here. And, it's not to, hammer anybody else or anybody else's ways of how they want to do stuff or whatever. That's fine. Everybody's happy to do their own thing, but I'm trying to, I have a different vision in my head of what I'm trying to do here, and I just don't think that that's necessarily how I want to do it. Fancy Tales says you at least edit it and only show what went wrong. That's a great point. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, and I honestly, I love the opportunity to get the feedback from you guys. Like, what do you think? What do you think would be ultimately helpful? Because I do know that people that watch the live stream. We call this a live stream. It's sort of like a podcast, whatever you want to call it. That I'd like to hear from you guys because I love to be able to hear like what would possibly be some ideas that would be more helpful than just showing a disaster. Because I'm not going to show my dead fish. I'm not going to show all that kind of stuff. That's just a monumental waste of my camera time, honestly, and editing and all that kind of stuff. So. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of chop it up into how I move the reef and make that video. But, if you guys have some crazy ideas, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do to incorporate things in. So we discussed a little bit of the reef. So a lot of things have not survived. Some things have survived so far. One of the firefish have survived. One was deceased. I haven't found the others yet, which normally bodes not well. The dragon goby, I was nursing him and did not make it. So life seemed like we were going in the right direction. The dragon goby passed away over the night. So did not work out fantastically for the dragon goby. My blue tang made it all the way until today, and then succumbed to the just the overall stress, realistically. And but the platinum cardinals, they do not care. They have apparently do not care as long as they are in water. Apparently, they will just survive. And I have the clownfish, so the platinum clown that I have is apparently, it being an aquacultured fish, so it was born in a fish tank and has always lived in a fish tank, is completely unaffected also, from as far as I can tell. That fish, the clownfish, does not mind just anything that has happened to it. So the clownfish seems to have done really well. Let's see who else. I just want to kind of focus on who else is doing well. Oh no, our Klaus Witch Blenny, which Klaus, it's my favorite fish. Didn't make it at all. It just wasn't even a hit and miss situation there. That was probably the first fish to pass, which makes sense because those Klaus Witch Blennies, they come from the middle of the ocean. They're not near the shore. They're not near any area that is going to get a significant salinity swing. Whereas the cardinals that are in there, they come from near the shore. They swim through freshwater estuaries and stuff like that all the time. So it does make sense that they would be all right. you know, it just basically they're used to going brackish to fresh to full salt. They don't mind, so that's not that big of a deal. Almost every single coral is no joy. You know, I have some high hopes for the flower anemone. Maybe. It seems like the foot on the flower anemone might survive. There's still a little bit of color left in its tendrils and stuff. I've got it right near the front of the tank, so I will keep it monitoring it and see what happens with that. The bubble tip anemone, the bubble tip anemone's foot has latched on to a rock and it's completely closed up. But I'm thinking that the bubble tip anemone has maybe just somehow had enough time to completely close up. If you guys know a bit about anemones, they will hold water inside them. It's kind of an interesting situation, so we shall see what happens with that. I have high hopes. That bubble tip, it didn't happen in my tank, but how I got that bubble tip, it went through an impeller. So clearly, this anemone comes from some kind of magical, you know, like some kind of superhero stock. So I've kind of high hopes for that, and we'll see what happens. All the corals, you know, other than a few select zoanthids, maybe they might make it. I'm not sure. I'm not confident. I'm not confident in it, but the yellow wrasse that is in there is doing fantastically. So so to continue telling the story, basically the reef went 100% fresh. That water was going on there. So what did I do? The first thing I had to do is check the temperature. The temperature had dropped significantly. So that aquarium had gone from about 80 degrees. We'll just say 80 and just keep nice round numbers for you guys. So went from about 80 degrees, slammed all the way down to around 55. So it was sitting right at about 55. So first thing I did, I had to grab all the available heaters, you know. So added heaters to the tank, added 2 more 300-watt heaters so we could at least get the temperature up while I tried while I basically was mixing salt water and adding it to the tank. Now, I had to use the water from the tank because to give you a good idea how long the top-off water had been running, so the DI chamber went from blue all the way to brown, which means that the DI was completely wiped out. There was no more deionization happening to the water that was coming from my water supply, which means I can't go dumping that water in there because I don't know what is coming out of the tap at the time, and I'm not treating that water that's coming from my water source. So I'm having to pull water out of the tank into I basically was just using 5-gallon buckets, and to give you guys an idea, I used up all of my reserve salt. I had an 8-gallon bucket of salt that was probably 2/3 full, which was, I used up all of the salt that I had. It was enough to bring the salinity up from 0 to the safest level that I could conceivably bring it to. The salinity swing going from 1.026 all the way down to 0 and then back is bad. That is not a good idea. So basically what I did is I brought the salinity back up to 1.018 is basically where I brought it to. That is as high as I could. A, I ran out of salt, but B, that is the safest level that I could conceivably bring it to and not keep climbing up. I would have essentially put it at that level anyhow, and I was out of salt, so it's like, okay, but that's the best I can do right now. Hopefully that salinity can stabilize everybody in here and continue to bring the temperature back up. In the time that I had mixed all that water, that's basically the best I could do. And then it's just kind of a waiting game to see what's going to happen. Of course, I had to pull the skimmer out because it was overflowing. I had to pull all of the media, the media reactors, all that stuff, had to pull that out because it's reacting messed up. It's really one of those things I couldn't, and a lot of people would say, why didn't you just set up a quarantine tank and move everything to there? Because here's the issue. A reef tank is completely full of that which keeps it alive, and more often than not, that comes in the form of live rock. So all of the rock that is in there is essentially the same stuff as your biomedia in a freshwater tank, except for a saltwater tank has, a 180-gallon tank probably has 300 pounds of that rock, and I don't have another tank to put that rock into. So the best thing that I could do is to try and bring that salinity back up and hopefully keep some of the biological filtration going on the tank. So I basically needed to at least feed the bacteria to a certain point so that the bacteria could come back, be denitrification, all that, right? And get it to it was the best thing I could do at the time. And there's no way to really get all of the fish out. So like, let's say I was just going to hope and set up a small tank. Catching the fish is going to be virtually impossible in a setup tank like that. You can't net them. Saltwater fish are probably twice as fast. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guesstimating. Saltwater fish are probably twice as fast as freshwater fish. They are aggressively quick. And if you go to try and net them in a setup tank like that, they just hide behind a rock. And I don't know if you've ever snagged your net on rocks and stuff like that, trying to catch a fish in there. It just isn't going to happen. So, it just kind of the best thing that I could do realistically was try and bring that salinity back up, let the tank heat back up, and see what could survive. And it sucks, man. I wish there was some kind of really cool, way that I could have changed things or possibly done things a different way. It's just the nature of the thing, so I had to bring that salinity up. By the time I got back from the fundraising event, temperature was closer to where I wanted it to be. I think it was, sitting right at 80 or 81. And I was like, okay, that's the best thing I can do. That's the best that I can do right now. I had to go to bed because there just wasn't anywhere. There just wasn't anything else I could do at that point. It was just, all right, let them ride it out. Worst case scenario, most of the things that were gonna die had already died, and it just sucks. So Sunday morning we got up, and I had to go get more salt. I had to go get more biological. I basically had to go buy bacteria. That was definitely something that I had to do. And I had to buy more salt and also make sure that I had all the plumbing parts and all that kind of stuff so that I can essentially what's the word? So I could essentially get ready to fix everything. Carlo Tropical Fish keeps asking if the Real Fish Talk podcast is coming back. Go watch the Real Fish Talk, and you'll probably know. Or actually, go watch Friday's live stream. I talked about it in Friday's live stream. Brian's Fish Tanks is here. Kay Walker is here. What's up, man? Says there'll be a lot of die-off little creatures over the next couple days. Watch your ammonia. Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll explain what I'm doing with that, and how that's going down. How I'm going to be moving forward with that kind of stuff. So, it just. So, which part was I at? So, okay, Sunday morning, and so I basically was going through, and I was like, okay, all the equipment that I need, all the kind of stuff that I need, I just want to make sure that I have everything in place. And I want to, I had the stand was built, the 60-gallon was already in place, the 60-gallon cube, if you haven't seen the 60-gallon cube, you will be seeing it fairly soon. It's in a pretty prominent spot. I just have some trim and things to do on the stand, although I'll show you guys before it's all trimmed up and stuff, just so you know, like how ugly things can look before trim goes on. It's like when you build a house, it looks like a disaster, and then all of a sudden you do the drywall and the flooring, and then, oh, well, this place is awesome, right? So, yeah. Now, the first store we went to, welcome to Petco. They not open. Nobody's opening until late on Sundays, which I'm going to be honest with you. I want to explain my emotional state at the time. I felt like I wanted to throw a rock through the window of Petco and PetSmart and all those places that decide Sunday is the day that they're going to open late. I open late on Tuesday or something. Like, people have Sunday off. I don't know. If you normally open at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, right? Why don't you open at least 9 o'clock on Sunday when people have the day off? So like fish keepers, people with pets and animals and stuff like that could go in there early and get their day going early. So, we could like go and get the products that we need. This is why Amazon is winning, okay? Just as a heads up to stores like Petco and PetSmart and stuff. This is why Amazon is winning, okay? This is why Amazon is beating you guys over the head big time. That's why. The availability, Amazon's available 24 hours a day. You could put in an order. And they even deliver on Sundays now, right? So, anyhow, so that was my emotional state. I was freaking out. I was like, why are they not open? Now they're open at 10 on Sunday only? And Ahulana Suki says, hey, retail workers want a day off too. Yes, I 100% think that retail workers should totally have a day off. As you guys know, I was a chef for almost 20 years, which meant I had to work Christmas. I had to work New Year's. I had to work 4th of July, had to work every day. Friday was the busiest day. Saturday's a busy day. Sunday's a busy day. But I had Mondays off. I took Mondays off. That was the day that I worked 4 hours a day on Monday. So I took the day off on Monday and only worked 4 hours. That's how I had my day off. So I empathize 100%. I think that companies should figure out how to I think companies should figure out how to be in business properly so that people can have days off and stuff like that. Yes, I'm not arguing that. The thing that I'm arguing is I have Sunday off. Vicky and I have a limited amount of time that we can spend together on the weekend. We get up at, I get up at 5:30. Vicky gets up on the weekend. She does sleep in a little bit, but, she was even up by 7 and going like, what are we going to do with the Reef? And I'm like, I'm waiting for stores to open. So, and realistically, like I said, at the time I was being super self-involved, that I was getting upset. That's where I was getting upset from. That's really like what was going on, that's why I was upset. So anyhow, Petco finally opens, we get in there. They don't even carry any of the Reef salt that they say they do online. They only have 2 types of salt on hand, and neither of them are brands that I would even respect. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, really, dude? Okay, well, we'll go to PetSmart. We'll check it out. Same deal. They only have 2 types of salt. That's it. I don't even trust these 2 types of salt. I'm not bashing any specific companies. I'm just saying it seems odd to me if you're a pet store and you don't have things that people need for pets. It seems to me like you're dropping the ball. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how their business model works. I don't know what it's all about. I'm just saying, dropping the ball, and it's not good, and it doesn't feel good. So so from there, I go, you know what? I'm going to go to Aquarium Paradise in Lakewood. If you guys know, I live in Western Washington. I live in Tacoma, Washington. Lakewood is south of where I live. Aquarium Paradise is a store that has had a weird reputation. They did a really good job for a long time, and then they started getting all these bad reviews, and no one could really figure out what was going on. It turns out that the owner just got old, and was, maybe not doing everything at 100%. But I will say that them being good store owners, they brought in new people to help out. And there are some youngerish guys, they're like 30, 35, like youngerish guys, whatever, that were, very personable, very accommodating, very much helped out. And, one of the owners was there. She helped us cash out, at the register and stuff. And they did a stellar job. They totally helped out. They had all of the stuff that I needed. I very much appreciate it. Vicky Toria went a million miles above and beyond and purchased a new sump while we were there. Mainly because she knew that we were going to have to move the sump from the 180 to the new tank, and she just knew how much time that was going to take. I was planning... what I was planning to do was essentially take the sump from the 180, move it over to the 60, plumb it all in, fill the system, let it run for a little bit, and break in and make sure that everything was good to go before I moved livestock over. Because the 180-gallon tank is so... It's not the biggest tank in the world, but if it was sitting there for a day or 2 days, just circulating the water in there, it was so understocked with fish that it just really wouldn't have been a problem. So that was ultimately my plan, and then Vicky came through. She just purchased a new trigger system sump. It's the Ruby model. I'm really happy with it. I kind of wish we would have got the slightly bigger one because went to fit the skimmer into it, and it's like I might as well have just gotten a shoehorn to get that thing in there. I managed to make it fit. It worked. And it's operating perfectly, so I can't be, that upset about it, being a little bit smaller. I can obviously use my brain power and stuff like that and figure out what I'm going to do if I need to change it or modify or something or whatever down the road, because I am actually at the point, where I'm at least satisfied. The sump works perfectly. My skimmer is too big, so it's not like there's something wrong. It's not like there's something wrong or anything like that. Carlo Tropical, hey man, nobody's in trouble or anything, but just there's like 7 words you can't throw into the chat just because I don't know, YouTube's policies or whatever. Just, you know, nobody's in trouble or anything, but just, you know, just edit the swears. You know, you just put some other symbols in there. It's all good. So, anyhow, from that point, we come home, basically open up the new sump, get it all plumbed in. Of course, that takes a long time. We got a ton of stuff that needs doing. I basically had to make up like 80 gallons of new water yesterday, get it all into the system, get the system running, plumb the whole thing together, make sure that all the electrical's in place, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Needless to say, it is done. It is in place. The 60-gallon is running. I put as much live rock as I possibly can into that tank. It looks like, if I was to give myself a grade on my saltwater tank aquascape right now, I'd give it a 2 out of 10. I mean, and mainly because a 1 would be like an empty tank. a two is like, oh, you got stuff in there. Cool, man. You gonna fix it? Is you gonna fix it? No? You're not gonna fix it? Okay. You get a 2. I give myself a 2 right now. And that's pretty much where we're at. Oh my gosh, we're piling up on the super chats. And you know what? I don't want to let those go because, you know, I respect you guys. I respect you guys chiming in on the super chat. So I don't want to let them go. The Zombie Drummer, $5 super chat, just saying, hey, got to catch the replay, stuck in traffic, and miss catching the show live. I know how that is, man. The traffic around here is bonkers, that's for sure. M. Howie9 with a $5 super chat saying, sorry to hear about your tank. I've been there. A good video would be how you recovered and what improvements you would make in the future. That's a really good point. That is a really, really, really good point, and I think that's what I'm going to do because I shot some video and stuff while I was, you know, like while I was waiting for water to mix and warm up and stuff like that. I kind of shot some video. Last thing I want to do is post a video that's like, you know, it's clickbaity, and I think the title here is just even clickbaity. You know what I mean? Like, I think we have a little extra people showing up today, which I might end up changing. I don't even know. I don't know. But at the very least, there is no there's no car crash video or anything here. So, you know, either way. Benjamin says, don't forget to hit that like button. Benjamin says, don't forget to hit that like button because Rumbust throwing down the 1588 Swedish Krones with that strong mustache game. I love it, man. Thank you. Thanks for contributing on the super chat and you guys. One thing that I want to mention to people, if you guys don't know, my buddy Corey is the owner of the Aquarium Co-op. As I've said in the past, I love those guys. I love everybody that works over there. Super cool. Hold on, my foot's asleep. I gotta move my chair around because I can't handle it. The one thing that he mentioned to me earlier today was, oh, dude, today is the last day of, he's got a plant sale going on. So here's a link that puts you over to the Aquarium Co-op. He's got a 15% off plant sale going on right now. If you don't want to check it out, you don't have to. But if you want to spin over there and check it out, today's the last day. You could grab some plants of the stuff that you would normally see from me. You would normally see me doing plant stuff and everything like that. The Reef is encompassing everything that is going on. I kind of feel like... I feel like I got punched in the gut with this whole Reef situation, and maybe I can just, you guys get 15% off. Maybe that helps. There is a code, and I shall put the code into the chat if I can remember how to type. It is plants15. You put that into the into the code thing at the checkout, you'll get 15% off. That's the best news I got today. The best news I got today is you can save a couple bucks on some plants. Those guys don't carry any saltwater stuff, so luckily I don't have like throw a rock through the window rage like I did at the Petco PetSmart situation that they didn't want to open up early on a Sunday. It's just life sometimes, you know. But they don't have any reef stuff there, so they don't need to open up early because us regular old plant guys, we ain't freaking out on Sunday morning. But whenever I put on my reef hat, apparently I'm a bit of a nutter when it comes down to acting all cray-cray, right, on a Sunday. What happened? Somebody says it's happy plants. Is that the code? No, I thought it was plants 15. No? I don't know. Maybe I should bug Corey and find out. I thought it was plants 15. Where's this stupid email go? Well, I don't even know where my email is. So what do I know about it? Maybe it's Happy Plants. No, I think that's Happy Plants was the old one. Happy Plants 15? Oh, the code is Happy Plants 15. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to screw that up. Okay, let me check out. Happy Plants 15 is the code. Okay. Did I screw that up? Too bad for everybody. Shoot. Sorry. Happy Plants 15. I don't know. I thought it was Plants 15. Okay, well, that's why we're a community here, so we can figure it out. Alana Suki just used it last night. Okay. The plants are happy. Okay, there we go. Good. I am happy to say that all my planet tanks are doing fine. I can give you guys an update on the 120 situation. As I said, this sort of disaster situation sort of happened like kind of following the timeline of what was going to happen anyhow, which was breaking down the 180, getting out of the way. And as I mentioned last week, I don't know if anybody was here, I pretty much spent all of my money. I've put myself into the hole. I put myself into the hole buying new fish tanks for aquascaping, essentially. I've got a brand new custom 120 that I'll be picking up on Wednesday. I'm not sure if I'm going to be working on Wednesday or not, which means there might not be a show this week on Wednesday because honestly, I'm so far in the hole that any jobs that come up, I'm probably just going to take the work because I need to recoup fundage because I spent it all on goofy nonsense. Which, I don't know. Maybe it was the right decision. Maybe it was the wrong decision. Either way, not sure. We got a $5 super chat from Brian's Fish Tank. Says, I didn't catch the beginning, but it sounds like a crappy deal with your reef. Hope things get better. I know you'll recover. Yeah, that's the one thing at this point is that I am confident that I've already been in full recovery mode. I spent all day getting a lot of that stuff sorted out. Today, I actually found one of the firefish. One of the firefish is actually doing well. So that's not the worst possible thing. And that's good to hear that one of the firefish is alive because Vicky and I both really, really like the firefish. And that's the long-term plan for the tank. So it's good that at least one so far has survived. So it's not, there are some signs of life. We do have some good news. And I'm just trying to focus on the good news right now. That's just basically like where I'm at. It's just going, I got to stick with it. Brian says, didn't catch the beginning, but it sounds like a bad deal. Yeah, as I kind of explained at length earlier on, was that I had turned on the water top-off water. And I turned on the water top-off water and left it on for like 3.5, 4 hours. 3 hours. Let's be conservative and say 3 hours. Either way, my whole entire reef tank went from proper salinity all the way down to 0 salinity. It was fresh water. You can probably drink it at that point. I mean, you might have a bacterial problem or something like that, but other than that, you'd be, you could drink it, I think, basically. It's like rainwater. Bonsai Ben just here saying, Joel, I've been meaning to ask you about recommended beginner frags for saltwater. I literally know nothing, but really would like a small frag tank soon. So this is the recommendation I give people. The recommendation I give to people is to operate some fish tanks before you get into a saltwater tank. And by that, what I mean is operate some planted tanks for a good amount of time. Planted tanks, in my opinion, are the best stepping stone that I have been able to find for people that are going to move into any kind of reef keeping. Mainly because you start to learn the systems. You really start to learn the systems with a lot bigger leeway. When bad things happen in a planted aquarium, it's like, oh, I got algae, which is not that bad because it doesn't hurt the critters that live in there. If you have a bunch of shrimp or freshwater fish and stuff like that, if you're growing algae, they're like, hey man, I'm home here. Right on. We's in my house, right? They're not affected poorly by any of that. So it's not a bad thing, So my recommendation to people is to get into a freshwater planted aquarium, and after having done that for about a few months, the steps to moving into a reef it's just baby steps. It's like, oh, I've got to learn to test for 3 or 4 other things. Okay, that's not a big deal. I've been doing water tests. I've been learning stuff. The fertilizers, if you are going to be doing any kind of fertilizers for your frag or feeding your corals or any of that kind of stuff, it really isn't that big of a leap. It's not a giant leap to figure that stuff out. Then on the equipment side, you'll have learned a lot about lights and things like that. It's not that big of a deal. But if you want to talk about the specific frags, and when I say frags, it's short for fragments, right? So if you take a big coral colony that's like this big, you cut up little pieces off of the coral and make little frags, right? Little fragmentation of the bigger colony, right? So cut those up, and then they call those frags, right? So that's gives you kind of the idea of what I'm talking about. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, hopefully that explains it a little bit. Starter frags, the easiest way to go about this is to find softies. They're typically called softies. So you're talking about mushroom corals, you're talking about zoanthids, you're talking about anemones, depending on which anemones and stuff like that. Those are the types of corals that you definitely want to start out with. Now, the reason for that is they aren't super high demand on light. They aren't super high demand on specific things that need to be in the water column, right, for them to be able to thrive. So think about it as, like, with air quotes, fertilizers, right? Like I said, the light demand is going to be much easier for you to get going in. The easiest setup that I've ever seen was Brian Murphy used to do I think it was a 10-gallon. And I want to say that it was a 10-gallon because it would be even crazier if it was a 5.5-gallon. But let's just say it was a 10-gallon. He used to do a little 10-gallon, and he did a little reef. Took all of his planted tank knowledge, his filtration, all that kind of stuff, and applied it into the reef stuff. So it definitely is a way that you can kind of shift and go like, well, I'm trying to do some of the reef things. This is kind of what I want to do. And maybe that's the direction you want to go in. Then That's what I would do personally. You know, I would go that route, and that's the recommendation that I give to people is like maybe try just a little 10-gallon with a hang on back, all that kind of stuff, and check out some videos of doing those little tanks, and then see if you like it or not before you start going into 200-gallon aquariums and things like that, because it is more costly. It really is. Like doing water changes on a freshwater just costs whatever my water bill is, which is not that much, to run the water to do a water change, and then we're all done with that. Cool. Whereas the bucket of salt that I picked up yesterday was $100. It was $100 for the salt in order to do that. So it gives you kind of an idea of like things do cost a bit more to get like good quality salt and stuff like that. So I feel like did I even explain anything? I don't know. I'm kind of a weirdo. K Walker says the best advice I can give you after 5 years of keeping salt water is to do research and more research, and that way you won't waste money on useless equipment. Yeah. I mean, really the only equipment that you need for reef keeping is a skimmer, which is how you're going to clean particulate out of the water, a heater, and good lights. And a pump, I guess. You need a pump to move water around. That's basically it, though. I mean, it really can be pretty simple. It can be just as simple as running a pretty easy to maintain planet tank, realistically. And then you just want to be consistent. You just have to be consistent. Valerie Van Zyl with a $2 super chat with nothing on it. So let's pick somebody out of the chat here. Let's see. I'm going to scroll way up and find somebody out of the chat. Let's see. Petco and PetSmart. Okay. Let me see. Oh, I'm trying to find a question out of the chat here. Oh, I can't find one. Sharpie's model says going to be getting a 40-gallon freshwater tropical tank soon. Any recommendations for suitable fish to cycle it with, i.e. big enough to produce enough waste to get things going, so hardy enough to cope? I fishless cycle. So, no, I won't give you any recommendations on how to cycle with fish. It's really old school. There's really no reason to do it, especially when you can get the bacteria from a cycled filter. Super easy. A tank that is cycled already, take that filter floss out of it. Put it in the brand new filter. Let it run for a day or two. Boom. Bacteria going big time. We also have a $2 super chat from Wanamingo. Says, hope you feel better. Good luck with the reef recovery. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's hey, thanks for everybody for chipping in. It's a big deal. Like I said, I don't necessarily do this show for the super chats, but I do respect you guys contributing, man. I can't say that I don't like, oh man, it would be stupid to be like, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it, but it would be goofy to be like, to say that I don't appreciate it, because I really do. I really do appreciate it, guys. Mountaintop Fish says, I have a filter and a bubble wall in my saltwater, been running for a year. Yep, that is a way to do it. I realistically find a skimmer to be much more effective because I won't need a bubble wall, first of all, because a skimmer aerates the water like crazy. And B, skimmer's a filter. Skimmer's going to pull a lot of the particulates and things like that you're going to be looking for. Nick's Fish Room, let's get back to freshwater for a second here. Canadian $2 says, what's the ideal TDS in a crystal shrimp tank? This depends. I have talked about this on numerous occasions that we need to know what the TDS is, okay? TDS is an abbreviation for total dissolved solids. So we have to know what those total dissolved solids are, or the number could be completely different. Typically, in my instances when, as you guys know, I bred crystal shrimp for a really long time, many years. I bred a lot of crystal shrimp, and I'll be slowly getting back into it as time goes by. But typically, when I was measuring my TDS, I was pretty much at 135. It's pretty much where it would be if on a typical day. On a typical day, I would get a reading of about 135. Anything over 160 or anything like that, it was time to just do a water change. That realistically is the best advice that I could personally give from my area and my experience. Now, it's going to be different, like I said, depending on what the TDS is and what you're mineralizing with, what you're adding, what you're not. So that's really going to be kind of the thing that I would go with. Wouldn't normally go for it, but not allowed to keep fish anymore in my rental. Wasn't sure if I could eventually cause an imbalance, though. What happened? What happened? Thoughts on doing aquascape tanks, be it fresh or salt, with no inhabitants, i.e. plants and corals only? Benjamin, I would definitely do that. I've done that many times. I've done coral-only tanks less often, but I have definitely... my motivation with planted tanks is plants, 100%. The plantscape, aquascape, my motivation is plants. And I know that people look on this like as a negative thing or something, or they get like upset or triggered, or I'm not sure. I don't even know what people freak out about anymore. But I've been like, I've talked about this many times, and people are like, what's wrong with you? But my main focus and my main reasoning for doing planted tanks is not fish, it's not shrimp, it's not snails, it's not crayfish, it's none of the above. My main motivation is plants. That is my number one motivation. And that might be weird, it might be off-putting to some people or whatnot, but it really is. That's my motivation. So yes, I would 100% recommend setting up some planted tanks. If they won't let you keep fish or anything like that in your area where you're living at now, that is almost always a workaround. Is that you're just like, it's not a fish tank, it's my plants. It's a vase or something, you know what I mean? You could be like, it's my planter. You know, am I allowed to have planter boxes? You know, that kind of stuff. So, is that the right thing to do? I don't know. People might get mad. They might not get mad. I don't know. But either way, that's what I would do 100%. Bonsai Bench says, I feel it's about creating a new world. Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it, too. A whole new world. Andy is here. What's up, Andy? How you doing? Good to see you. Let's see. Bye-bye, protein skimmer. Let's see. Sharpie's model says, I already have extra sponge and filter floss pre-festering in my Flex 15 gallon. Yes. So I would not buy a fish for that, for cycling the tank. That's not what I would do. I would just utilize the fact that bacteria will colonize like crazy. And you realistically only have to wait about, what is it? I think technically it's like 72 hours, but within the first 24 hours, it's already doubled. And, you know, obviously you want that bacteria to be fully like doubled and doubled and doubled and doubled. But, you know, you're going to be pretty good after 24 hours. I just wait 72. That's just kind of an easier way to do it. Like, oh, I just do nothing for 3 days. Like, okay, cool. No big deal. So that's just pretty much what I would do. All right, we are getting up to the end of the show, and I don't even see any of my moderators in the chat. Do I even have any moderators? What happened to them? Maybe they all just quit. Oh, there's Schwisky. I see the Schwisky. But I doubt he's still here. He probably left. But either way, we're coming up on the end of the show. I'm sorry it's a short show, but from the topic, I basically, from the topic of the video, it just means I got to get back to work. So I've got a bunch of stuff to do, and I got to get back to it. I got to get back to work in the fish room and stuff. I also have to get some things sorted out for tomorrow, which means I got to load my truck up for a job. I got to do some other stuff. So it's quite a bit of things that I got to do. Wanamingo says trying to start an aquarium club at my high school, bi-weekly or monthly. 100% monthly. You try to go bi-weekly, it's too often. It just really is. It's really too often for most people's schedules, honestly. It doesn't work that well. But if we're talking about high school kids, you might be onto something. That bi-weekly might be more contextual for young kids or something. You know, the youngsters. Oh, you youngsters. It might be better. It might even be a weekly thing if we're talking about like high school. Like maybe you meet up on every Monday or something like that. I'm not 100%. But as far as like adults and all these people out here in the streets, monthly is the best that they can do to show up. And sometimes that's too often because they're like, oh, it's August, man. You know, I'm taking my kids on a road trip, bros. We're going to Illinois. You know, we got to drive out to Illinois and look at some Illinois stuff, right? So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense, you know. Snake with Braces says, what's up? How are you? I'm all right. Kathleen White says, hey there, sorry about your reef. Need to know about the Corvus makes me poop. Came about and made me giggle, so I bought a coffee mug. Did somebody, you bought a coffee mug? Oh my God. Hold on a minute. I don't know. Somebody play some song. All right. Don't ever say I never did nothing for you, because I did. This is where it came from. So I always drink my coffee out of this coffee mug. And yeah, that's where that came from. So we ended up making that mug because of that. Basically because of that. So that's the backstory. I wish the backstory was like I wish the backstory was like crazy, but it really isn't. And it just goes to show how much. Let me see here. Let's see. Have we even sold any shirts or mugs or anything? Let's check. We're gonna look. I don't know when you got the mug, but we'll find out in just a second. It's loading. Nope, we haven't sold anything. So we must have got it a while ago. We haven't sold anything in a long time at the old Teespring account. I don't know. Teespring just like, oh, there we go. It was a little bit ago. There it is. Boop. Got it right there. August 13th. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So that, yeah, it just goes to show how much I check the Teespring. I never really do. Here's the weird thing. Like, Teespring is great when you start up something. But then once they get everyone's information, then they take most of the revenue because they sent out an email. So they send out an automated email, and then anybody that's going to order from there, they take most of the revenue. So, like, let's say you launch a T-shirt thing. Let me see here. I got to change the dates here. Let me go way back. Let's go back here, and let's see if somebody's bought a shirt. Oh, no. That's not far enough. I got to go farther back, you guys. Nobody's bought a shirt since May. right? Yes, there we go. Last orders in May, right? So what happens is that it's kind of interesting, but it's Teespring's like business model is so like if you sell a shirt, you make like $7 or something like that, right? If they send an email to people that have registered their email there, and then those people go buy a shirt, then you make $2. So it's pretty interesting, right? So I kind of stopped promoting any of the Teespring stuff, but that's where the mug came from, is from this mug. This is where I almost always drink my coffee out of, unless I have to make coffee in the jar, and then I got the jar, which I don't have anything to do with these guys that make jars. But I will tell you, this thing is super sticky today because I made hot coffee in it, and then I went to shake it up, and the top blew off, and I blew hot coffee onto my face and my neck and my shirt, which was pretty rad. Which I think you guys can see. I'm like still like red in here, and I got like zits. I got so many zits right now from traveling around. It's crazy. I don't know. Traveling the world, my skin's just gotten terrible. I'm sorry. But somebody, let's see, who was asking how Vicky was doing. Vicky is doing fantastically, and our baby is doing swimmingly. I'm super stoked. Our baby is doing really well. We've got more doctor's appointments coming up, on a regular basis. I think we have about 10 weeks till the baby is born, or slated to be born, or however you do it or say it or whatever. Like, I don't know. So I'm pretty excited, and we shall see. Let's see. All right, we're coming up on the end of the show. If I missed anybody's chat, it's not on purpose. Hit the like button, subscribe button, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I love you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and catch up with you guys at some point in time fairly soon. I want to say thanks to all the super chatters of the day. The Zombie Drummer, M. Howie9, Rumbust, Brian's Fish Tanks, Wanamingo, Valerie, and Nick's Fish Room. Where'd my chat go? It disappeared. Anyhow, so let's see here. Catch up with the chat a little bit. Thank you guys. Barbara says stress is bad for the skin. Yes. I've been traveling so much. I got these zits like right here. I don't know why. It's super weird. I mean, this one on my forehead's kind of normal. That just happens from time to time. But come on. What's with these zits, man? Alhana says, beauty blog coming up. Yeah. I should definitely start a beauty blog with this face. Right? People would definitely tune in for that, right? I don't know anything about beauty. But, Wanamingo says Corvus Oscen t-shirts still exist. As far as I know, yeah. Rumbus says, well wishes for the overhauls. Tell Caleb we're thinking about him from Steven. Yes. That is, we are always thinking about Caleb. We are always thinking about Caleb. Caleb's the #1 fan. If you don't know who Caleb is, go check out the GoFundMe. Where'd that go? Where'd my links go? Hold on, I got links around here. There it is. Copy. Paste. Boom. There we go. Yes. But a big shout out to... Oh, where'd you go? I forgot your name, and it's my fault. Kathleen White. Thank you very much for buying the mug. You're the only one that bought anything over the summertime. Kathleen, yes, I'll be doing some direct merch stuff at some point in time. The one upside to Teespring is that you don't have to pay to do anything ahead of time. The downside to Teespring is it's a really bad deal for everybody. So I've got some things in the works to sort out some merch at some point. I don't know when it'll happen. Like I said, I spent all my money on the new 120, so I hope you guys are stoked for that tank, because that's pretty much the whole thing at this point. Oh, excuse me. All right, I'm burping. I got to go. I love you, everybody. Have a fantastic Monday out there, and I'll talk to you all later.